What's up, guys? Koma here, and today we will be covering portals in Splitgate 2's map creator. So there are quite a few things that we will be covering in terms of this video. Number one is understanding portals as a whole, as they can be sometimes complicated, and understanding portal placements, how to kind of make your life easier making portal placements, and kind of some accidental stuff that we will be talking about with portals. So to keep portals simple, uh, you have two portals. You have a purple and you have an orange. Now you can set both of them alternating each way, unless your settings are different than mine. You can go into gameplay. Actually, is it in gameplay? Oh, okay, here it is. I just kind of misread it. So yeah, it's under gameplay. It's called smart portal swapping, and essentially what this does is that if it's disabled, it'll only it'll still place your portals like that, but it won't swap your portals when stepping through. So you can set up OG Splitgate settings if you go into your settings and go into input, customize controls under the keyboard. You can do create left and create right portals if you so desire, if you're more used to old school Splitgate. But I really do enjoy just portaling. So what this does is that when you step through your portal, you'll notice that at the bottom of my screen, my portal will actually change depending on what color I am stepping through. So if I'm stepping through purple, then I'm gonna set down my next purple. So this enables you to kind of allow you to chain your portals much easier. As you can kind of see, I can just chain my portals very easily. And we'll get into that in a moment. Now, when it comes down to setting down a portal, it is worth noting that when you set down a portal can be not be overwritten for 1.5 seconds. So if I set down my portal, it cannot be taken away from me until those 1.5 seconds are over, and then an enemy player or even teammate can overwrite my own portal. Now, say if you have an ally portal on a wall like this and it's right in the middle and you still want to set your portal wall onto this wall, you can set your portal to right on the same wall and it'll actually shift the portal over for your portal. Now, if it's an enemy portal, you'll just straight up overwrite it as you kind of noticed like this. It'll just overwrite the portal as a whole. So, going on into understanding how portaling works, there's some little weird details with portals, as you'll notice that if I stare facing forward, you'll notice that I'm essentially looking at this wall. But if you step through it if you're looking at this wall and step through it, you'll notice that my angle actually changes and I'm still staring through this wall. So this is kind of handy. So when you're working with portals, you want to make sure that you're making sure that whichever way that you're entering from is beneficial to the player. So if I am looking at this one and I'm setting a portal here, this isn't really beneficial to me unless I'm wanting to hit this. But even then, you can notice when stepping through, I'm still not getting any benefit out of it. However, this is more useful when it comes down to areas like this, as you'll notice this one alternates right, left, and then eventually there's another portal wall behind that wall, so it's right. So when you step through, you can notice that I'm always facing the same direction. This becomes useful because now since I hit this wall here, it doesn't work, but I can hit this and then sort of just come back through if you wanted to. Now, quick stepping between portals like this is what they call triple portaling. It is a very key component of actually just learning the skill gap in general. And do keep in mind, now that I see this, whenever you do play with portals, you can shoot yourself. So keep that in mind. Be wary of actually shooting yourself. So, now that we understand the basics of portals and how kind of portals spit you out and whatever, which is something that you're going to have to actively play with, you can actually go in and actually start placing portals on your maps. Now, portals are typically always 4 by 3, so this is the default size of portals. You can always set 2 portals down on these portal walls, but you can make them wider and bigger depending on how risky you want an area to be or how accessible you want an area to be. So if I want this area to be really accessible, I can set plenty of portals onto this wall. In fact, I can place 4 total. Um, so when it comes down to actually placing the portal wall itself, typically most people, I would assume, are running 50 centimeters movement snap and 1 movement scale, or sorry, yeah, 1 scale. And you'll notice that when you move your portal wall should look like this when spawning in. So this will be what your portal wall actually looks like. Now, if you don't want the frame, you can just toggle the frame here like usual, and you can just slide the portal into the wall. So this is a custom frame. This is made with the primitive simulation blocks, but if you don't want to use primitive simulation blocks, there are a few options. You can go under portal, as you have these portal cube frames, of which you can also take the frame off and have them sit flush in. You also have the SSL portal stands, which I believe these are the ones that are actively used in the dev maps. So you can also use these. You also have the simulation portal frames, which you can do simulation portal frame cubes. So they have all directions, including the top. You have floor portals, which are kind of hard to see, but they're just big things where they allow you to kind of fall in. And then, of course, you have the portal walls, which are kind of like basically essentially what I'm working with. Actually, in fact, I will bring this here so I can actually show you this problem coming up, assuming it wants to rotate with me. So I will scoot this over and then scoot this over, and we'll just move that back, for example. So if I bring this in, so it can go here, and then this can be shrunk down there. Okay, so essentially there is a minor problem with portal walls when you do take the frame off, and even in a frame that is already pre-made for the portal itself, you'll notice that this portal wall does stick out somewhat. Like you can notice that it's a very subtle poke out. So what you can do is set your movement snap to 10 and close your catalog if it's taking up your screen, and then you just carefully nudge the portal in by 10 units, and it will turn red. Don't worry if it turns red. This is because this is a false flag or false positive, meaning that this portal wall will still work, it'll still function. It just looks red in the map creator, or even if you go to playtest it in actual customs, or if maps are ever added into matchmaking, these portal walls won't be red, they'll be blue. They'll look exactly like this one. So that is nothing to be worried about. Now, portal placements, as I kind of mentioned before, is something that you kind of want to be very careful about. You don't want to overdo portals, but you also want to be very careful when it comes down to just portal placements. Now, don't get me wrong, you can go nuts with portals. That is a personal choice. I just kind of prefer portals being more placed in specific locations. So, again, for an example, seeing a bounce like this pretty much ensures that I can slip through this area much faster than usual, because for good players that know what they're doing can portal very quickly between locations. As you can see, I'm not the best at it, but I'm okay. So one way I actually like to look at portals is actually like mirrors, as I kind of think that's kind of the best way. So imagining you are a beam of laser and you're bouncing off of this wall or of sorts. So if I'm shooting my laser here and it's bouncing off this wall and going to this wall, you can notice that I can now effectively bounce, well, technically here. So that would be my next bounce, and this would be a bounce, and then technically I can go multiple directions, but logically speaking, the laser would probably go there, and then, perhaps here. Um, but effectively, that is the way I like to look at portals, is just more or less like a bouncing laser. Therefore, you can kind of like perceive looking at portals much better. When it comes down to angled portal walls, sometimes they're a little jank or weird, because you'll notice that even if I go through at a angle like this, it's just funky looking. I don't know what it is, but just be careful when it comes down to angled portal walls. If you're starting simple, start with corners like this so you can have like, a better understanding of just portal bouncing in general. So, when it comes down to actually using portals vertically instead, you'll notice that this is a vertical wall here. So what you can do is you can set a portal there, and you can set a portal there to make it like a mini elevator. Or you can use it as a sight line. So I can set a portal here and set a portal there, and I can see anyone who is up here and shoot anyone who is up here if necessary. Now, additionally, I talked about triple portaling, so like portaling like this, for example. But the cool thing about it is it can even be used vertically in some maps. So if I do this and this, I can step through, set a portal there, turn around, and you're gonna notice that this portal actually has like a grate over it I made. So you can even triple portal bottom up or even bottom down for that matter if you so desire, as long as you have the portal walls to actually do it. But granted, I don't have the best mouse space in the world compared to actual keyboard and mouse players, as I typically play controller. Um, but yeah, that is the general idea of portals. Do just keep in mind that portals will kind of mess with your head, even through actual gameplay or even just making a map. So I hope this guide helped you somewhat to understand the basics of portals and essentially understand how portal walls are meant to be placed around a map. So if you guys did find this guide helpful, you can always like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell if you always want to come back for more, guides and tips and tricks and everything of the sorts. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Adios.